The Royals make their first trade of the season, going out and landing a bullpen piece in Hunter Harvey from the Washington Nationals. What is his fit like in this pin, and what did the Royals have to give up? Let's dive into it.
It was good, y'all. It's your boy JD6 here with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man.
Hey guys, welcome into a shortened version of the podcast. Just want to give a little reaction to the Royals trade over the weekend in Hunter Harvey, the relief pitcher from the Washington Nationals. Want to get into what his fit might be like, who he is, give the fans a little bit of knowledge on what to expect with him in a Royals uniform, and maybe talk a little bit about what it took to give him up or to give up to get him. So, Chris, we get Hunter Harvey from the Nationals in exchange for infielder Cayden Wallace, one of the Royals' top prospects, as well as the 39th pick in the MLB draft, which at this point that draft pick has been made. The Nationals picked up a catcher from UC Berkeley. Initial thoughts on the trade? What do you like, and what can you tell us about this new pitcher?
Yeah, I think I'm all for it because immediately Hunter Harvey becomes the best pitcher in this bullpen. Like Barton, it's not even a question. He has the most experience. He has the best stuff. He has the most strikeouts. Like, if the Royals are serious about competing this year and into the future, this was a move they needed to make. You know, Cayden Wallace had some nice upside. I know, again, there are a lot of people that were high on him. He was still an A-ball. Like, he was still a few years away. Who knows what he was going to develop into? Same for that 39th overall pick, which, again, the Nationals turned into a catcher. Who knows what the Royals would have done? So, like, I like it because Harvey, again, the main thing here is Harvey has 2 years of control. So not only are you getting him for the rest of this year, you're also getting him for 2025, which is a huge deal because, again, this bullpen's going to go over a transformation again. They've signed a lot of guys to 1-2 year deals. A lot of them aren't working. You already have a piece locked up now with Harvey. You know, MacArthur, I know the fan base is a little up and down on him. He's solid enough to where he's going to be in the pen, and then Zerpa. And I think those are really the only three that are going to be in this team next year. So you have to give up a long-term prospect and a draft pick to do it to get better for not just this year, but also next year. I think it's a good move. I'm actually really excited about it.
Yep, I like the decision. I mean, I think at first glance I was like, oh man, we gave up Cayden Wallace already for what could have been a potentially bigger trade is what I think my initial reaction was to you. But I think in reality, looking back now, there's not a lot of path forward for Wallace in the short term. And if he's not ready, then you're just sitting on a guy that's not going to be here. And he's not, I mean, he's not knocking on the door by any means right now. He wasn't having a bad season at all, hitting 282 and slashing decently. But you've got a relatively filled up logjam ahead of him. Now you get a guy who's more of an immediate need, not just for this year, but for next year. To me, he's a guy that screams JJ Piccolo as far as what he's looking for. Can throw hard, upper 90s, 97, 98. One of your favorite aspects, though, is the high strikeout rate. I think his strikeout percentage is like 28% almost, which I think blows most of the Royals bullpen guys out of the way. He's got 50 strikeouts on the year. You know, the numbers at first glance may not be the best, just over 4 ERA on a terrible team. The teams are going nowhere. I think you and I have talked before, though. You don't get too caught up in those numbers. You're looking more at the, walks, hits, and strikeout rate, of course. But a guy that he throws strikes, he gets guys out. Hopefully, a guy that can come in and make an immediate impact, take some pressure off of a young pitcher like MacArthur, but hopefully give you a guy that you can trust there at the latter half of a game when you need a couple of big outs. I think I was just looking here. Immediately, he becomes the sixth person on the team with the most strikeouts, so he'd be way ahead of anybody.
He's behind the 5 starters.
Yeah, Chris Stratton would be the next closest with 36, and he's already got 14 more than that. Yeah, I mean the Nationals have 2 main guys a lot of the leagues looking at because they also have Kyle Finnegan out there. But I think when you were doing some of your deep dive, you feel Harvey might have the better numbers that might translate better to what we have going on here. I like it. I mean, there's not a whole lot to dive into. I mean, if you want to get into the nitty gritty details, his last 7 outings, 15 outings haven't been great.
Yeah.
Strikeouts have still mostly been there. but a little bit more in the walk department. But again, on a team that's going nowhere, so he's not really pitching for anything when he steps out onto the field most nights. Whereas here, definitely he's going to be in high leverage situations, but he's going to be pitching for more, I think. Man, I don't even know what else to get into. Cayden Wallace goes out.
Yeah, and the
And
thing
not
too
going to
is,
have much future there.
like again, is there's some people out there that I know wanted Finnegan, that closer the last 2 years for the Nationals, because he again that ninth inning has some weight to it, and I'm wondering if the Nationals were asking more for it because of that ninth inning experience, and the Royals were like, again, Harvey has been better. Like, we all love Greg. I'm not comparing Hunter Harvey to HGH, but we all loved Greg Holland, but Wade Davis was the better pitcher. He was
Yeah.
the inning guy for that first year. So like, Hunter Harvey kind of had the same thing going on in Washington, where I think he's the better pitcher. He throws 98, and same like Finnegan, has that splitter, is in the 88th percentile of chase rate, something the Royals do not get. I mean, you got the best reliever on the team that can throw gas. And another little underlying stat, I know nerd out of, but the movement on his fastball, like again, Carlos Hernandez throws hard, it doesn't move. Harvey's movement on his fastball is in the 87th percentile, so it's not just a straight 98. It's got some zip on it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things. Like, I know the Royals' initial plan with the bullpen was to make a matchup bullpen of guys that throw strikes and let our defense defend it. But how much nicer is it to have a guy that can throw strikes, strike people out, and when they do make contact every now and again, you have Kyle Isbell, you have Bobby Wood Jr., you have those guys flag it down. So I expect a lot from Hunter Harvey. I mean, again, I know anyone that listens to Vern on 610 knows all about how in 2017 they made the trade for Mauer and those other guys, and it packed.
Ryan Buchter.
And that's definitely a factor, because those guys had some success. So that's definitely always something you're worried about with trading for a reliever. But if you sit there worried about it not working, you're never going to make a move. This was a move that hits a lot of the marks for the Royals. It was worth making. It stinks that they did have to give up a prospect that some people liked, but at the end of the day, I don't even know if we're even going to be worried about Cayden Wallace in 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, again, my only hesitation with it was, could you have packaged Cayden Wallace with something to get a bigger piece? But I don't know what that piece is out there. We've talked before that this might not be the strongest trade block class, because there's so many teams that are still competing, and then a lot of teams that just haven't pulled the plug on the season yet. So that could all change over the next 3 weeks. I love the move. I think, I guess the question I have for you then is, with what we know about Q and how he's more analytical, how often do you see Harvey lining up in that 7, 8, or 9 spot, and which one do you think he kind of leans into the most?
I think Q loves James McArthur, has all the faith in the world in him, and I think that's what I do like about Q. I was a little worried about him being overly raised baseball mentality, where they just look at spreadsheets. I think Q's got a little bit more feel. Today's game notwithstanding, bringing Nick Lofton in, but there's a little bit of that in any team. So, but I think that he has a feel for James McArthur in the ninth. I think the team kind of rounds it. Not to say that Harvey can't close, but I think Harvey's going to be the new Schreiber, if you will. Like, if there's 2 on in the 7th, of a 1-run game, I think we can see Harvey. Now, if things line up nicely, I think Harvey would regularly be the 8th inning guy, but they're going to try to find hey, you're playing the Indian, or excuse me, the Guardians, man. Still calling it the Guardians, and it's the top of the order. It's Quan, it's Ramirez, it's Naylor.
Yeah, you need a guy you can
Harvey's
trust to
coming
go
in.
against
Yeah,
the
Harvey's
top of a
coming in.
lineup or the heart of a lineup. Yeah, and I think what I like about it too is, I mean, the Royals have, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this. I think they have the most quality starts, or tied for first or second most quality starts out of their pitching staff this year. But what has happened in a lot of those quality starts? They go 6, 7, give up 1, 2 runs, and then bullpen comes in. Next thing you know, 3 walks, 2 runs later, what was a 5-2 game is now a 5-4 game. Now you get a guy that maybe Reagans and Lugo go 7. Harvey comes out for the 8th, and by the time you get to McArthur in the 9th, you're still up, 3-1, 4-2. And so a lot of that pressure is off, I think. Because right now, I mean, we've talked about it for weeks. Who's the guy that you go to when it's a 4-3 game in the 8th inning that you trust to give you 3 outs? And they haven't consistently had that yet. And I think this is a guy that could certainly do that and probably stretch the bullpen a little bit further with some of their other capabilities. What do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying the bullpen's starting to take a little shape. Like I know we sit here and talk about it, and it's crazy that how just one move, Nick Anderson for Hunter Harvey can do, but you replace your seventh, eighth best reliever for now your best reliever with strikeout stuff. Sam Long continues to come along. Like
Yeah, he looks
Chris
good.
Chris Bubich has looked good in his couple outings. Who knows what that's going to be? But all of a sudden, again, Bubich and Long do not have the track record, and you could even say that about Zerpa and MacArthur. But you put those four with Harvey, and you've got five guys that you start to have a little bit of faith in. Will Smith has been fine since the middle of April. Like I know the numbers still don't look great. I know he gave up a run against the Red Sox in the last game, but like he's been fine. Like I have no issue with him being towards the back of the bullpen. He's crafty enough to know. Same with Stratton. Like what Stratton did the other day, he's done that a few times to where he can strike out the side. He's one of the few guys that have shown that ability. Sure, he'll have a bad outing where he gives up 4 runs, once every 5 or 6 times, which is rough. But those other
And normal.
those other 4 to 5 times, like again, especially when he's not the guy that you are relying on every time in those high leverage, like I don't know. I still think I would like to see him add one more arm, especially just with the uncertainty of the younger guys like Zerpa and Long and Bubich, but man, it's crazy how one move, again, like I just said, makes you start to feel a lot better about this bullpen.
Yeah, that floor of that bullpen definitely came up, and I think that ceiling shot up too because you're one reliable guy. But I mean, we were talking about it off air. The Royals bullpen's starting to become pretty lefty strong right now. All
Right.
these lefties seem to be spot on at the same time, which that might not last the whole season. So maybe another high end quality righty to mix in there to balance it out. I guess last question for you: with the addition of Harvey, is there a guy in the bullpen that you think the addition of Harvey will have a significant positive impact on?
It's tough to say because I think all those guys already look at Stratton and Will Smith. I think those are the two guys. I think they will continue to be the two guys. He was he was a former first round pick. So, the track record for JJ Piccolo on trading for former first rounders is pretty good with Cole Reagan. So, but he's only played for the Nationals and when the Nationals are bad. So he doesn't quite have that experience like Stratton, like Smith. So I don't know if Harvey directly will have any impact on any of the guys. I mean, again, other than there's a fireballer in the.
Yes, I guess what about like from a performance standpoint? Do you think he takes any pressure off another guy in the pen right now, or him coming in those high leverage situations? Do you
Gotcha.
think that could lead to another guy's improvement?
I think it could get Schreiber out of his funk. I also think the All-Star. I mean, Schreiber's last 2 or 3 outings have been pretty good after like 8 abysmal outings in a row. He was on a stretch there where when he came in, you knew it was at least 1 run, if not 4.
Yeah.
Takes the pressure off him because he no longer has to be the fireman. It's going to be Harvey. Harvey's going to be used whenever they need him the most. I think Zerpa's kind of got that same role for when there's more lefties up. And as far as when you go talking about lefties, like Walter Pennington's a lefty too that they like that gives you 5 potential guys, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know, like Bubich's experience as a starter, and Zerpa's ability to throw inside, I think levels that out a little bit to where you don't have to worry as much about left, right when you're in the bullpen. Because again, Zerpa's just fearless throwing that fastball inside the right. He does not care.
We saw it the
But
other day.
right, but at the same time, it is a little. Most teams are not carrying 4 lefties in the pen.
Yeah. It's uncommon. Well, unfortunately, we don't get to see Harvey until after All-Star break, so it'll be about another week until he gets his potential first game action in Royals uniform. But yeah, Royals go out and address an immediate need, get a strong bullpen piece, give up a decent amount to get him, but only had to move one player, so they still got other guys that could potentially package for some other moves. Look at another bullpen arm, maybe with the increase of the outfield production, that's not as strong of a need, depending on if Melendez, goes to the injured list after today or not.
Right.
But there's still probably some other moves coming up. Excited for All-Star Week. Excited to see Bobby in the home run derby, see if he can represent well. He's projected to be the strongest power hitter in the sense of hitting the longest home run. He's got the best odds there. But super excited for that. And then, of course, we got All-Star game this week with Salvi as well, Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo. They get to represent. And then enjoy a week off for some of these guys to kind of get out of those that need the time off to get out of the funk, to reset. Some of the bullpen, like you mentioned, a couple of guys on offense just kind of mentally reset, and we can come out All-Star break full steam ahead and take this, right there with the wild card and try to make a run at, and heck, even still go for the division. Maybe Cleveland starts to drop off over the next few weeks. That pitching can't hold up forever. And maybe the Royals can make this thing interesting as we come down to the second half of the season. But any other thoughts on that trade?
No, just
What,
excited.
what grade would you give it?
I'd give it an B plus to A minus, just because it does seem like a little bit much for a reliever.
Yeah.
But then I say, like, okay, but you do have him for a year and a half, so probably B plus A minus range, depending on how high
I
you
think
were on Wallace.
that's pretty fair. You give up a top 3 prospect in your organization for a guy under club control. That's probably one of the better guys on the market. Again, not a very, very strong reliever market so far that we know of, and he's one of the better guys out there. So yeah, you now get a guy that we probably both agree is top half reliever in the league, added to a pin that needed that dash boost. So glad to see that. Glad to see JJ's going out there and address the needs to help this team win. But yeah, we'll wrap up there. Just want to get a quick shout out to that trade and kind of touch on that, and we'll probably talk some more during All-Star break or after All-Star break about some other things they can do. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for this one. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube. Hit us up, Spotify. You can listen to us on the go, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well at KCSA Pod. All right, we'll catch you guys in the next episode.